This is Valley News Live at 10.
We begin with breaking news tonight. 3 medical workers, 2 nurses and a doctor were stabbed at an Encino, California hospital this evening. The suspect remains barricaded inside a room at the hospital.
Yeah, he's been in there for hours. All the victims are in critical condition. This is still a developing story. Stick with us online and on your free VNL News app, as always, for the latest. Hutch joins us now with a look at your weekend and an update on the tornadoes that touched down earlier this week. Hutch?
Stacy, thanks so much, and good Friday evening, everyone. As we close out our week, it started off wild, and we had that Memorial Day storm that ripped through, and well, the National Weather Service has been surveying damage, and they use the damage to estimate how fast the winds had to be, and they have to look at that damage very closely to tell whether it was a tornado or straight line winds. 4 additional tornadoes mapped out here for you. The EF2s are strong tornadoes, and there is one that was in, well, the Barrett area, EF2, another one, Grant County, getting a couple of EF2 tornadoes, strong ones out by Wendell, those causing damage. A couple of EF1 storms in Otter Tail County, including Big Pine Lake right there on the outskirts of Perham, and Burbank as well in the southern and eastern quadrant of the county. But this one here, the strongest of all of them, Old Wadena, not to be confused with Wadena, started out near the Staples Airport, bent up into Cass County, Minnesota. There's that storm. Old Wadena. One of the most impressive things with that storm, a 300 to 400 yard wide path of trees that were leveled conveyor belt style, laying straight down, and some campground buildings were destroyed from that storm. 450 yards wide, 9.4 miles long was the path of that storm. A few other ones, the Grant County tornado, as well as the other Grant County tornado, and up in northern parts of Otter Tail County, that Big Pine Lake one was awfully close to portions of Perham, as well as the north shore of Big Pine Lake. Your hour-by-hour forecast looks a lot quieter than this nonsense. We'll have details on what you can expect. A few sprinkles on our weekend, including Saturday and Sunday. I'll have all the latest here in a minute.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
New tonight, a northern Minnesota man is sentenced to nearly 20 years in prison for sexually abusing a child over several years. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota says 25-year-old Corey Lassere of Red Lake was sentenced today to almost 20 years in prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. According to investigators, he repeatedly abused a girl between 2014 and 2020, the time the victim was between the ages of just 7 and 13 years old.
New information tonight in the ongoing saga surrounding Glosser Images. Attorney General Drew Wrigley says his office has received more than 500 complaints during the consumer fraud investigation into the company, leading to a civil action lawsuit. Adding Glosser falsely blamed the business's closure in October on the pandemic and then continued to borrow money while enjoying a luxurious lifestyle. Glosser's attorney, Tim O'Keefe, just filed a 10-page answer to the state's lawsuit, saying in part Glosser has cut out all expenses in his life now and says his focus is making sure their former clients get the images they're due.
Workers who went to work that day to help people who were just traumatized and still are.
Last night we told you a jury found Gregory Ulrich guilty of 11 counts, including premeditated first-degree murder for the death of nurse Lindsay Overbay. The mandatory sentence is life without parole. Today, reporter Aaron Hassanzadeh takes us to Buffalo, where the community has united to ensure that some good comes out of this tragedy.
You'll see this sign just about everywhere you go in town. Buffalo strong, not just a reminder of that dark day, but a symbol of how people have bonded and move forward.
Still wear it every day. It's bittersweet.
Buffalo Strong is the thread that binds people in this small town that found itself at the center of a tragedy.
Every day you see someone forgot their wallet in their car, so at Cup Grocery, the person behind them paid their grocery bill. Just pay it forward. Constantly. It's happening every day. Everyone's watching out for everyone else.
It lives in the small moments.
I think it's a random act of kindness.
That vow to band together instead of falling apart.
We're working on doing something about it with Buffalo Strong. I mean, we want to work on wellness, community wellness.
For Donnie Overbay, whose wife Lindsay was killed in the clinic shooting, they're still healing.
I just hope he understands the destruction and devastation, anxiety, stress that he's caused everyone that was involved, including my children that now have to grow up without a mom, and me as a father and a husband.
But there's traces of Lindsay everywhere.
There's a few of us. We have her on the back of our badges all the time.
It looks like they're lilies, yellow lilies that are growing underneath where her wind chime is. And those were her favorite flowers, were lilies. And I didn't plant them.
Reminders of the good forces in this world.
This one is actually Lindsay's handwriting. Even though she's not here physically with me, she's still here.
Aaron Hassan's reporting. Donnie Overbay moved to Oklahoma with his 2 children for a fresh start. He says the kids are excited for a normal stuff this summer. An East Grand Forks man has died after what police believe was an accident at a construction site in Grand Forks. This marks the 3rd unattended death there in just 10 days. Officers, not the construction site, the city. Officers were called to Empire Courts before 7:30 this morning, saying an employee working alone at the site was pinned underneath a heavy piece of equipment and died. Police identified that person as 54-year-old Gerald Schwan. They say his death appears to be accidental, but they are investigating. Anyone with information is asked to contact police. Authorities have now identified the man killed in a crash near the Tri-Level in Fargo Wednesday as 39-year-old Lucas Azure of Fargo. Highway Patrol says he was riding in a car on Wednesday with 50-year-old Don Keplin, the I-94, I-29 interchange. There was an issue with the car they were towing, so they stopped on the ramp, got out, checked things over, and when that happened, they were hit by another car from behind. The driver of that car, 41-year-old Shandy Cordner of Clitheroe, Minnesota, is now charged with possession of meth and potentially other charges as well.
There's a new scam that's gaining steam across the valley. Pawn shop workers say scammers are scouting people at gas stations or grocery store parking lots, convincing them they need money but only have gold to sell. But it's fake. It isn't a new scam, but suddenly it's popular again.
It's something I've had to explain a lot of times in my life, so it's pretty common that people come in and I have to break the news to them. They're usually either pretty upset or heartbroken.
That pawn shop employee went on to say that it's difficult to decipher a fake gold ring from a real one to the untrained eye, so be careful where you shop. And if you need help with an issue in your community, call our whistleblower hotline. The number is there on your screen, 701-369-3187. Just leave us your tip and we'll do our best to get to the bottom of it.
This week, 26-year-old Ahmed Abdullahi pleaded guilty to murder, unlawful possession of a firearm, and other crimes in connection with the September 12th shooting death of 28-year-old Megan Gustafson of Grand Forks.
Gustafson's family says the plea agreement made would give Abdullahi the possibility of parole if the judge accepts it. Tonight, Valley News Team's Alex Larson spoke with her family to see what they think.
That's the laugh of Megan Gustafson. Her family and friends say she was a daredevil, a true friend, a mother, a hard worker, and was always able to see the good in the bad. Her grandpa, Jerry Gustafson, says those who knew her got her for a total of 28 years and 10 days. And that will never be enough.
This was one of my favorite pictures of her. I think she was probably about 17 or 18 in this one.
On September 12th, according to court documents, police officers came to Megan's home, spoke with her, and walked away. Shortly after, police say the front door to her apartment building was open. They saw Gustafson and Ahmed Abdullahi, heard one gunshot, and then Megan scream. She ran onto the lawn, fell, and later died of a gunshot wound to her neck and chin area.
And this was her and her brother and I were out cleaning a driveway.
Abdullahi came out on his own with a handgun that was reported stolen the previous year.
He's a convicted felon with a stolen weapon, committing crimes with it when he tried to rob Valley Dairy or somebody outside of Valley Dairy, and then he murdered my granddaughter.
And the Somalian native has a pages-long record before this point.
5 of which were felonies, if you count the one in Minnesota. He has disorderly conducts, obstructing a police officer. He clearly has no respect for the law or the values of this country.
On Wednesday in court, Abdullahi confirmed what happened in the murder, but many whys are still being asked. Her family and friends say they can just hope Megan will finally get the justice she deserves.
He should have life without the possibility of parole. That's my feelings on it.
In Grand Forks, Alex Larson, Valley News Live.
Abdullahi's sentencing will take place September 7th. That's almost 1 year after Gustafson's murder.